Shabbat shalom, peace and love, Shabbat shalom. Get set up. Apparently, I gotta get these chargers charging. Put these phones on these chargers. I should have did that before I started. So forgive me for me doing all these technical things when I should be reading. Didn't notice how low the battery was getting on these phones. So let's do this. Let's fix that. This one charging. There we go. And there's the other. So that's that. It's going to be, and that's the only thing. It's the only thing with charging, because it throws off the view of the camera, but that's good. Shabbat shalom, peace and love, Shabbat shalom. I'll be reading from the book of Matthew, starting in chapter 5, and I'm going to be going over the teachings of the only begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 2 to chapter 7, verse 28. This is where we start. Bear with me as I try to get through this, y'all willing. The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 1. But when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain. And when he was seated, his taught ones came to him. Verse 2. And having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, so these are his teachings, and this is what he's going to be saying until chapter 7, verse 28. He's going to be saying teachings. He's going to be saying these teachings. So everything you hear from this point on are teachings of the only begotten Son that we should be learning ourselves and teaching others, making disciples of the nations using these teachings, making students of the nations using these teachings, students of the teachings of the only begotten Son. These are his teachings. And having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. So blessed are the poor in spirit, those who are humble, those who humble themselves. These are the poor in spirit. And blessed are those who humble themselves and poor in spirit, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. These are the words of the only begotten Son. These are not my words, these are his words. Verse 4, blessed are those who mourn, because they shall be comforted. So blessed are those who mourn for others other than themselves, mourn for others other than their loved ones, those who have empathy for others, because they shall be comforted. So when you mourn for others and have empathy for others, empathy will be shown to you. People will mourn when you are mourning. These are not my words. These are the words of the only begotten Son. These are his teachings. Verse 5, blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. So blessed are the meek, blessed are the friendly, blessed are the approachable. So blessed are the meek, the friendly, the approachable, because they shall inherit the earth. He can't have unfriendly people inheriting the earth. He can't have unapproachable people inheriting the earth. people that don't want to be bothered. He can't have these people inheriting the earth. People that don't like people and don't, like each other. He can't have them inheriting the earth. So if you're one who don't like other people, don't expect to inherit the earth. If you're one who can't stand this people over here, or you can't stand that people over there, you can't stand this type of people or this type of person or this type of people, it's one thing to not stand what they do. It's one thing to not like what a person do. And you should not like what a person do if it's evil. You should hate evil. Don't hate people. Hate the sin, not the sinner. Hate the evil, not the person. Hate what they do, not the person doing it. So if you can't find yourself to understand this and bring yourself to correct this and make yourself to be meek, approachable people, friendly people, don't expect to inherit the earth. Because only those who are friendly, meek, and approachable shall inherit the earth. These are not my teachings. These are not my words. These are the only begotten Son's words. These are the only begotten sons of God's words. Blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. Verse 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. So when you hunger and thirst for righteousness, what does that mean? Let's turn back to Deuteronomy chapter 6 and figure out what righteousness means. What is righteousness? So we can go all the way back to chapter 6 in Deuteronomy. Chapter 6 in Deuteronomy, starting with verse 24. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these laws, to fear Yahuwah our Elohim for our good always, to keep us alive. And it is today. As it is today. Verse 25. And it is righteousness for us when we guard to do all this command before Yahuwah our Elohim, and he has commanded us. So it is our righteousness to do his commandments. It is our righteousness to follow his instructions. It is our righteousness to obey his spiritual laws. This is what it clearly says, what our righteousness is in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 24 to 25. So now that we know the definition of our righteousness, now we can go back to his only begotten son and what his only begotten son meant in chapter 5 of Matthew, verse 6. This is the book of Matthew, by the way. We're in verse 6 now. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. So when you hunger and thirst for righteousness, you hunger and thirst to follow the instructions of God. You hunger and thirst to obey the spiritual laws of God, because that is your righteousness. That is your righteousness. These are not my words. These are the words of the only begotten Son. Verse 7, blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. So blessed are the compassionate, those who have compassion on others, mercy on others. When you have compassion on others and mercy on others, other than your loved ones and other than people you know, compassion will be given to you. Compassion will be shown to you. Mercy will be shown to you. You can't expect compassion and mercy if you're not willing to be compassionate to others or have mercy on others. Can't. It's not my words. These are the words of the only begotten Son. Verse 8, blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see Elohim. They shall see God. So blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see God. So how do we develop a clean heart? You develop a clean heart by doing all that we've just went over. You develop a clean heart, and this is a clean spiritual heart. This is you can't develop a clean fleshly heart, because the heart of the flesh is just like wicked. and it's just that's what is just wicked and is hereditarily wicked, is hereditarily evil, because it's part of the flesh. It's the spiritual heart that becomes clean, the heart of the spirit person in you. So how you develop this clean heart in order to see Elohim, in order to see God, you have to demonstrate all that we just went over. Demonstrate humility, being poor in spirit. Demonstrate mourning for others, having empathy for others. Demonstrate being meek, friendly, approachable. Demonstrate being obedient, following God's instructions and obeying God's laws. Not man's laws, God's laws. You have no problem obeying man's law, so you shouldn't have a problem obeying God's law. It's not that different, not that complicated. And you develop this clean heart by being, being this way, and having and demonstrating these traits. This is how you develop a clean spiritual heart. Because blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see God. When you develop all these traits, and you're humble, and you humble yourself, and you mourn for others, and you have empathy for others, and you're meek, and you're friendly and approachable, and you obedient, following the instructions of God. This, and you're compassionate. This is you're developing the spiritual heart of Yah, of God, and His only begotten Son, and to the point where you start seeing things, you start seeing people and things in the eyes that God sees them. This is how you see God, when you start seeing what He sees. You start seeing people how He sees them, having mercy on them how He has mercy on them, having compassion on them how He has compassion on them, forgiving them how He forgives them. Start seeing with your spiritual eyes. This is how you see God. This is how you first see God, by seeing His people, seeing His creation, how He sees them. All His creation. This is not my words. These are the words of the only begotten Son. And I trust that is, this is endorsed by the set apart spirit, what I'm describing, what I'm interpreting. Verse 10, verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called sons of Elohim, meaning children of God. So blessed are the peacemakers, because they should be called children of God. So when you're a peacemaker, when you make peace with others, and when you want to see peace amongst others, when you want to see peace amongst nations, when you want nothing but peace, you're making yourself a child of God. You're making yourself a spiritual child of God. And this is not your flesh. Your flesh cannot be a child of God. Your flesh wants to do other things. No matter how much no one admits this, our flesh wants to do other things. It's the spirit within us that wants peace, that should want peace. And it's the first demonstration of being a child of God, when you show that you want peace, and you want to see peace, and you want nothing but peace. These are not my words. These are the words of the only begotten Son. This is what He's saying. He says, blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called sons of Elohim, meaning children of God. You will be called children of God when you show yourself to be a peacemaker and want peace. Verse 10, blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. So righteousness' sake. What is righteousness' sake? We just read the definition of righteousness in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 24 to 25. We know the definition of righteousness is to follow the instructions of God. We know the definition of righteousness is to follow the instructions of God. The definition of our righteousness is to obey the laws of God. We know that. So that's our righteousness. So we know that. So blessed. So it says, blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake, for basically obedience sake. For anyone persecuted for being obedient, blessed are you. You know what I mean? Blessed are you because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. So when you're persecuted for being obedient, when you're persecuted for following the instructions of God, when you're persecuted for obeying the laws of God, you're blessed, and you're putting you're reserving your spot in the kingdom. You're reserving your spot in the kingdom of heaven. When you're persecuted for being obedient, when you're persecuted for following the instructions of God, when you're persecuted for obeying the laws of God. Verse 11. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. So blessed are you when they reproach you. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. So when he says, the important part is for my sake. It's for the sake of what he's teaching us, what he's teaching us in these teachings. So blessed are you when you're persecuted. So blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for the sake of you being humble, poor in spirit. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for the sake of you being for the sake of you mourning for others, having empathy for others. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for the sake of you hungering and thirsting for righteousness, meaning for you being obedient, for you following the instructions of God, for you obeying the laws of God. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for the sake of being compassionate. Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute and falsely say every wicked word against you for the sake of having this clean heart and being a peacemaker. So it's only then when you're blessed for these reasons, not for any other reasons of you just doing you and you just thinking that because you go to church or you go this place every Sunday or whatever day you go it on, and you in front of your phone making video, it's not and you just doing you. It's blessed for you. You're blessed are you when they say every wicked word against you for being humble, poor in spirit, mourning for others, having empathy for others, being meek, friendly, approachable, being obedient, following God's instructions and obeying the laws of obeying his spiritual laws, being compassionate, having this clean heart and being a peacemaker. So it's not just, you're not blessed for just doing any old thing and doing you. And yet it's not, they're not persecuting you because you just doing you. You're blessed if they're persecuting you for doing him, doing what he instructed to do, doing what he is teaching us to be, which is spiritual children of God. So let's get that right. Verse 12, rejoice and be glad, because your reward in the heavens is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. In this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So let's kill the noise about, it's a difference there. Let's kill a noise about, it being a different way. Oh, that's the Old Testament. That's the old covenant. That's the old. This is the new. We don't have to follow the instructions of God. This the new. We don't have to obey the laws of God. This the new. We don't have to do. This the new where we don't have to do. No, man. Let's put that to rest, because this is a clear indication that, the prophets who were before us was on this way. This is the words of the Messiah himself, saying that the prophets who were before us was on what we supposed to be on. What the Messiah is telling we should be on. So the prophets who were before us were humble, poor in spirit. The prophets who were before us mourned for others. Empathy, having empathy for others. The prophets who were before us were meek, friendly, approachable. The prophets who were before us of old, the ancient prophets of old, were obedient, following the instructions of God, obeying the laws of the spiritual God, the spiritual government. The prophets of old, the ancient prophets of old, were compassionate. The prophets of old were clean in heart, being peacemakers. So this was the way. It's the same way. It's no new way. It's no New Testament way. It's no new covenant way. This is the way. Only difference is you don't slaughter slaughterings. And you don't carry out the rituals of the temples, because the Messiah is your temple. The Messiah is your offering now. The only begotten Son is now your offering. The only begotten Son is now your temple that you gather in. 2 or 3 are gathered, he is amongst. So rejoice and be glad, he tells us. When we persecuted for following these teachings, rejoice and be glad, because following these teachings is the way they persecuted the prophets of old. Verse 13, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. So you are no longer of any use you are no longer of any use to the Messiah if you're not humble and poor in spirit. You are no longer of any use to the Messiah if you're not mourning for others, having empathy for others. You are no longer of any use to the Messiah if you're not meek, friendly, approachable. You are no longer of any use to the Messiah if you're not obedient, following the instructions of his Father, obeying the spiritual laws of his Father. You are no longer of any use to the Messiah if you're not compassionate. You're no longer of any use to the Messiah if you're not a peacemaker. You're no longer of any use. For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. Verse 14, you are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain. Verse 15, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Verse 16, let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. So this is reason. This is why. This is the reason. He just explained it. Your good works. So when anyone try to speak against works, it's not by works. The Messiah himself, who everyone who came after him claimed to follow, everyone after claimed to follow, The Messiah himself is saying this. He says, let your light so shine before men. So what is your light? Your light is to be humble. What is your light? Your light is to be poor in spirit. What is your light? Your light is to mourn for others, have empathy for others. What is your light? Your light is to be meek, friendly, approachable. What is your light? Your light is to hunger and thirst for righteousness, meaning to be obedient, follow the instructions of God, obey the spiritual laws of God. That's your light. What is your light? To be compassionate. What is your light? To be a peacemaker. That's your light. That's the light that you let so shine before other people, so that they see your good works. You have to see these good works. Not see, you can't see that you believe. You can't see a person believes. You only know a person believes through what they do, their works, action, verb, action, their actions, what they do. That's the only way you can see if a person believes. You can't see good works in someone's belief unless they show you their belief by their actions, what they do, which is following the instructions of God, obeying the spiritual laws of God, and in examples and demonstrations and teachings and lessons of his only begotten Son. That's the only way. That's the only way. You can't see good works other than, somebody working. That's the purpose of having good works, is work is being done. You're doing work. I can see you working. What work can someone do without actual work being done? Even if you typing you doing work with type using typing or whatever. You like using your laptop. That's work. But you're doing work. You have to do this work, man. And this is a clear indication that this is what the Messiah is looking for. And he's in this, he says this himself, that good works is required, and good works has to be seen. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works. Not sense that you have faith, not sense that you believe. They only know that you believe and know that you have faith in the only begotten Son in the Most High if you have good works, if you show them good works. There's no getting around it. So anyone teaching against good works, they're teaching against the Messiah. They're teaching against the only begotten Son of God. They're teaching against the same person they claim to follow. Because this is what he says. This is not what I'm saying. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. That's the whole point. So the Most High get the praise. So the Most High get the credit. So the Most High get the glory. But he only gets the credit, the glory, if they see your good works. See that you're humble. See that you're poor in spirit. See that you're mourning for others. See that you're having empathy for others. See that you're following the instructions of God, which is respecting others. Following the instructions of God, which is respecting God. Following the instructions of God by respecting yourself. Following, obeying the spiritual laws of God by respecting others. Obeying the spiritual laws of God by respecting God. obeying the spiritual laws of God by respecting yourself. They see this. They praise the Father in heaven when they see you being compassionate. They praise their Father in heaven when they see you being a peacemaker. They praise your Father in heaven when they see this, because they like, man, he made peace with me. He don't want no more smoke. He made peace with me. Sheesh. So they praise their Father in heaven. They praise your Father in heaven for that. This is how they give credit. They'll have someone to give credit to, because it's like, wow, that was a close one. That person don't want nothing. He want to make peace with me. I ain't got to worry. That's one less person I got to worry about. People don't really want no drama with each other, man. People really don't want drama with each other. They want that to stop. They really want any, drama to stop amongst each other. So when you make the decision to stop it, it's they praise your Father in heaven when you do so. When you make the decision to be compassionate on somebody, to have compassion on someone, have mercy on someone, they praise your Father in heaven when you do so, because it's like, wow, there is a God. He had mercy on me. He didn't have to have mercy on me. I was this, I was that. I was wrong to this person. I was wrong to that person, but they had mercy on me. I was wrong towards that person, but they had compassion on me. There is a God. This is the purpose of you doing this. You letting your light shine, and your light being compassionate, your light being a peacemaker, your light being obedient, this has to make sense to you. Verse 17, do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. Let me read that so you can understand what the Torah is and the prophets are. This is the Messiah. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17. These are his teachings. This is what he's teaching. He says, do not think, do not even think that he came to destroy the Torah, which is the instructions of his Father, or the prophets, which are the prophecies of the prophets of his Father. Do not even think that he came to destroy them. He did not come to destroy, but to complete, meaning to follow the instructions of his Father, show us how to follow the instructions of his Father, and also fulfill the prophecies of the prophets of his Father. He did not come to destroy, but to complete. So he came to follow the instructions of his Father, which is the Torah, literally means instructions. That's what Torah means, instructions of God. Torah means instructions of God. Torah means instructions of God. Torah means instructions of God. So whenever you see Torah, don't think, oh, that's an Israelite, or oh, that's a Jewish, or that's something, you know what I mean? It's not, it's instructions of God. So when you see Torah or you hear the word Torah, know that means instructions of God. It's not something you categorize, a word you categorize somebody by, and you put them in a category, and just so you can stand clear of them. This is the warped thinking of our people. They'll hear a word and categorize somebody, you know what I mean, and try to basically put them in this category, and don't say nothing to them, or avoid everything that they're saying altogether. Oh, they one of them. They one of them type people. They with that group. He used the word Torah. Oh, not knowing, that's ignorance. The word Torah means instructions of God. So this is what this is what he said. He said, do not think it. Don't even think this. Don't even let this come to your mind and thought. Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah, which is the instructions of God, or the prophets, which are the prophecies of the prophets of God. I did not come to destroy, but to complete, meaning follow the instructions of God and fulfill the prophecies of the prophets of God. This is what he said. But yet we have most tried to speak against the instructions of God and say that the instructions of God are obsolete and the instructions of God are for legalists. So if you're not obeying the laws of God, that will make you lawless. Will it not? If you're against, following, you first of all, you will follow the laws of man, but you're against the laws of God. Make that make sense. How are you against the laws of God, but you obey the laws of man? I know why. Because men can put their hands on you. You feel like men can put their hands on you and put you in a prison cell and fine you in court. So this is why you obey men. This is why you obey the laws of men. Because you don't want to find yourself in a prison cell. If you had your choice, you wouldn't obey the laws of men because you're disobedient by nature. Our flesh is disobedient by nature. So if there wasn't a threat to put you in prison or fine you in court, you wouldn't obey the laws of men. And so that there's no spiritual court to put you in right now, and there's no spiritual court to find you in right now, and there's no spiritual prison to put you in, you're going to disobey the spiritual laws of God. So this is why you disobey the spiritual laws of God. You disobey the spiritual laws of God because there's no spiritual court to find you. There is no spiritual prison to put you in. This is why most people push the notion of, you don't have to follow the instructions of God and obey the spiritual laws of God. I'm just saying, people by nature are disobedient. Our flesh by nature is disobedient. The only reason they obey the laws of man because they don't want to be put in prison. They don't want to be fined in court. That's the only reason. People don't have integrity. Flesh doesn't have integrity. Flesh does not have integrity. My flesh included. I force my flesh to have integrity. Me speaking as far as like the spiritual me, the spiritual child of God me, has to force this flesh to have integrity. And for the most part, I win. I don't always win. We have to live with these flesh, which is our hereditarily evil, corrupt. Verse 18, for truly I say to you, till the heaven and the earth pass away, one yod or one title shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. Let me explain what's being said. For truly I say to you, till the heavens and the earth pass away. So he's telling you, until the heaven, meaning the sky, falling, the sun going dark, the moon going dark, and the stars falling, until that happens, until the earth pass away, where the ground breaking apart and you having, things going on the earth that's catastrophic. You know what I mean? And as far as like rivers of sulfur, that lake of fire, until you see that, until you see the sky falling and the earth breaking, you know what I mean? Doing that, not one word and not one sentence shall by no means pass from the instructions of God till all prophecies are fulfilled. This is what he's saying. This is what he's ultimately saying. For truly I say to you, till the heaven and the earth pass away, one yod, one title, shall by no means pass from the instructions of God till all prophecies are done, till all prophecies are fulfilled. And all prophecies haven't been fulfilled. That's part of prophecy. Part of prophecy, if the stars going falling and the moon and the sun going dark, that's prophecy. That's part of prophecy. So until that's fulfilled, the instructions of God are required to be followed. The instructions of God is Torah. Torah is the instructions of God. These are the words of his only begotten son. These are not my words. You're not arguing with me. You're not disputing with me. You're disputing with the instructions. You're disputing with the only begotten son himself, which all who claim to believe and have faith follow, supposed to follow at least. Verse 19, whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so, shall be called least in the kingdom of the heavens. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of the heavens. So these commands that he's given, like I want to say, not only the commands of his father, but these commands, the least of these commands of what he's saying, like being poor in spirit, being humble, mourning for others, having empathy for others, being meek, friendly, approachable, hungering and thirst, being obedient, being compassionate, being a peacemaker. These things, these least of things. You know what I mean? Whoever breaks the least of these things and, is in the least of the instructions of his father and teaches men so that teaches men that they should be doing it, even though they themselves have failed to do it and have failed at a certain point doing it or struggle with doing it. They teach that it should be done. They teach others that they shouldn't be like them or fail like they've failed in the past, but they should be better than them. This is what he's referring to. People who teach what is right, but struggle with themselves with doing that right. You would be known that you would be the least in the kingdom. But at least you're in the kingdom. But at least you're in the kingdom. But whoever does and teaches them, so whoever does both, whoever actually follow these commands, follow these instructions, and also teaches them, they will be known as they will be known as great in the kingdom of heaven and have earned that right, earned that title, and earned that spot to be called so, because living in the flesh is a struggle. Living in the flesh is rough. Living in the flesh is an everyday struggle, battle, So if you're able to overcome your flesh each day, that's worthy to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. That's worthy to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Verse 20, for I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, for I say to you, this is the Messiah, for I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the kingdom of the heavens. You should by no means enter into the kingdom of heavens. You should by no means enter into the kingdom of heavens. You should by no means enter into the kingdom of heavens unless your righteousness, which is your obedience, which is you following the instructions of God, which is you obeying the spiritual laws of God, unless that exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees and how they follow the instructions of God and how they obey the spiritual laws of God, unless your righteousness, unless yours exceeds theirs, you should by no means enter into the kingdom of the heavens. How do we do this? First, he's shown us already. We get our righteousness to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees by being poor in spirit, humble. We get our righteousness to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees by mourning for others and having empathy for others. We get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees by being meek, friendly, approachable. We get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees by being compassionate for others. We get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees by being peacemakers, because the scribes and the Pharisees weren't this way. They weren't this way. They weren't this way. So it's like this: when you're showing yourself to be this way, you're showing yourself that you're showing your obedience to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. You're showing your righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. You're showing you following the instructions of God exceeding the way the scribes and the Pharisees follow the instructions of God. You're showing that you obeying the spiritual laws of God exceeds that of the way the scribes and the Pharisees obeyed the spiritual laws of God. So that has to be seen. And he's about to show us how to do so. He's about to show us how to get us on that. He's been showing us from the beginning of this chapter. This is the book of Matthew, by the way, chapter 5. And his teaching started in verse 2. He's been teaching us since. We're in verse 20 at this point. We're in verse 20. He's been teaching us, and he's going to continue to teach us how to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. Sometimes I have to feel sorry for people who just all they concerned with is the flesh, and they think that that's going to, bring them fulfillment, and trusting in themselves is going to, is the answer, and trusting in themselves is the way. Like, it's just sad, because we're mere flesh. You have to get your mind on what's after this. You have to get your mind on what's under this. You have to get your mind on the spiritual matters. You have to get your mind on what can exist after this, because gyms and your body and going to the gym will not be here. You will not always be here. Just saying. Verse 21, you heard that it was said to those of old, you should not murder. And whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. We heard this. The scribes and the Pharisees heard this. They observed this. We should continue to observe this. But here's the Messiah, and how this is what he's going to teach us to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. But I say to you that whoever is rough with his brother without a cause, rough with his brother or sister without a cause, angry with his brother or sister without a cause, shall be liable to judgment. This is what the Messiah is saying. Obviously, the scribes and the Pharisees were angry with their brothers and sisters without a cause. And whoever says to his brother Raka, they were avoiding calling each other Raka, shall be liable to the Sanhedrin. But this is what he says: whoever says you fool shall be liable to the fire of Gehenna. Because when you call someone a fool, or if you call someone out of, out of their name, you know, coming from a place of malice in your, in you, a place of malice in your heart, you know, that will make you liable to the fire of Gehenna. That will make you liable to the fire of Gehenna, you know, when you call someone out of their name and it comes from a place of malice. Verse 23, if then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you. Verse 24, leave your gift there before the slaughter place, and go, first make peace with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Verse 25, so yeah, before I move on, so what this means is, like, if you find yourself, gathering in your place of gathering, whether it's church, temple, kingdom hall, wherever you find yourself gathering with other brothers and sisters in worship, but yet you remember that you have a disagreement or an issue with your one sister that you used to see there, or the one sister brother that you used to be there with. You remember that you have an issue with anyone, any brother or sister. You have to stop what you're doing with your other brothers and sisters, whatever worship you got going on with your other brothers and sisters. Stop all that what you're doing and go make peace with the brother and sister that you have to make peace with, the brother and sister that you have an issue with, the brother and sister that you have a disagreement with. Go make peace with them, and then come back to worship with your other brothers and sisters. Then come back to gather and congregate with your other brothers and sisters. This is what he's saying. Verse 25, be well-minded with your opponent promptly, while you are on the way with him, lest your opponent deliver you to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. So be well-minded. Like, this is what let's see what he mean by this. Verse 26, truly I say to you, you shall by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. So, yeah, you shall not, like, you got to, you should pay your debts. You have to pay your brothers and sisters. Whatever you owe your brothers and sisters, you should be paying them. This is what the Messiah is basically saying, like, to avoid them taking you to court, to avoid them taking court in their own hands, taking matters in their own hands. Pay your brother and sister what you owe them. Pay them what you owe them. Otherwise, it's going to lead to them trying to take court in their own hands, take matters in their own hands to get it out you. It's going to lead to them wanting to take you to court if it's a large amount. Pay your debts to your brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about to these companies. I'm talking about to your brothers and sisters who rely on you paying them back. Verse 27, you heard that it was said to those of old, you should not commit adultery. We heard this. The scribes and the Pharisees observed this. We should continue to observe this. But this is what the Messiah says in order for us to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. Verse 28, but I say to you that everyone looking at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So when you look to a woman and you're engaged already, or she's engaged, when you're looking at a woman and you're imagining being with her in your imagination, you're committing adultery within yourself. When you look at a woman and you're engaged already, or she's engaged, you're imagining being with her sexually, you're committing adultery within your imagination. This is your heart, you know. Even if she's not engaged, and even if you're not engaged, if you're imagining being with this woman and you have no intentions on being engaged to this woman, and you're imagining being with this woman, you have no intentions in being engaged with her, you're committing adultery within your imagination, within your heart. Verse 29, and if your right eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it away from you, for it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into the Gehenna. What he's speaking about is that your spiritual eye, whatever you're watching that's causing you to stumble, whatever you're watching that causes you to, be unclean and make yourself unclean and be, sin towards yourself. He's basically saying whatever you're watching, whatever you watch that causes you to stumble, causes you to sin, causes you to become unclean, pluck it out. Whatever website, whatever app, whatever program, whatever movie, whatever show, pluck it out. Me personally, my what I need to pluck out is XXX. That's what I can't watch that. So this is just to give you an example. For most men, we can't watch XXX because it will cause us to stumble. We can't watch XXX because it will cause us to sin. We can't watch XXX because it will lead to us making ourselves unclean. So we have to get rid of apps. We have to get rid of programs. We have to get rid of websites. We have to get rid of this stuff. We have to get rid of the stuff that actually leads us to sin. I'm not talking about a regular movie. A regular movie is not gonna lead most men to sin. A regular movie, no matter how rated R, is not gonna lead most men to sin. A regular movie, no matter how rated R, is not gonna lead most men to stumble. It's triple X, like actual, not fake. That's what causes most men to stumble. So just to give an example. And that's what needs to be plucked out. Not your actual eye, because the Most High doesn't want you to do that, because he don't want you to bleed out and, and waste your life. But he does want you to, pluck out the program, pluck out the app, pluck out the website, pluck out whatever it is that you're watching. And if these triple R movies does cause you to stumble or sin or make yourself unclean, yeah, pluck it out. These shows cause you to do that, pluck it out. But me, I can watch, those things. I can watch movies and shows and not be moved by them. Not be moved to want to make myself unclean, not be moved to stumble or sin. There's some movies that give me that plants that seed. Now that I think about it, there's some shows that plants that seed and leads to me wanting to open other apps and stuff like that, or open websites and stuff like that. To be honest with you, that's this is where it starts. So you have movies and shows that will plant that seed and will have you want to open the real thing, want to watch the real thing. We have to be real with ourselves. We have to be real about what's going on with ourselves, with these flesh. If not, what are we doing? We're being fake. So this is what he's talking about. Pluck it out. So yeah, those rated R movies and shows could plant the seed. I can say that. It can plant the seed. But but for me, them shows by themselves or alone, it doesn't cause me to stumble, doesn't cause me to make myself unclean. And if your right hand, verse 30, and if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you, for it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into the Gehenna. So what this means is that if you have, you know, a member of your congregation, a member of your assembly, a brother or a sister that, you know, is seducing you to sin, that is seducing you to evil, seducing you to stumble, seducing you to uncleanliness. You have a brother or sister among you like this, you have to cut this person off. Cut this person off. Because this person is trying to lead you to stumble, lead you to sin, lead you to, you know, evil, lead you to be unclean. So this is what this means. Your right hand is your right hand man. Your right hand is your right hand woman. Whoever is close to you, if that person who is close to you is seducing you to sin, seducing you to, you know, stumble, seducing you to be unclean, you have to cut them off. Seducing you to serve other gods, you have to cut them off. I mean, just keep them at a distance. They can no longer be your right hand at your right hand anymore. You know, keep it brief, keep it at a distance, keep it, you know, keep it cordial. But you have to keep it moving because they're going to try to seduce you in some way, some form or fashion. They may not try to, you know, talk you into but their ways are put on display for you to be tempted by and find interest in their ways. Verse 31, and it has been said, whoever puts away his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. We heard this, the scribes and the Pharisees observed this. And we should observe this, but this is the way the Messiah tells us to observe this. This is the only way we should observe this. There's no getting around this. This is what the Messiah says about this in order to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. Verse 32, but I say to you that whoever puts away his wife except for the matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. So this is what he says about divorce. This is what the Messiah says about divorce. He says, but I say that whoever puts away his wife except for the matters of whoring. What is the matter of whoring? The matter of whoring is your wife sleeping with another man. That's the matter of whoring. So if she hasn't slept with another man, you're not to divorce your wife. You're not to divorce your wife if you can't get along with her. You're not to divorce your wife if you no longer find her attractive. You're not to divorce your wife if y'all no longer, or if you find someone else attractive. You're not to divorce your wife for these reasons. These are not valid reasons to divorce your wife. There's only one exception to divorce. There's only one exception for you to be able to divorce. According to the Messiah. You could do whatever you want to do, but according to the Messiah, the only begotten Son of God, the one you most claim to have faith in, believe in, and follow, according to him, there's only one, reason to divorce your wife, and that's if she slept with another man. If she slept with another man. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 32. But I say to you that whoever puts away his wife, except for the matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery, because if you put her away and she hasn't slept with no one else, and only person she sleeps with is you, you're forcing her to find someone else to sleep with. It's Eve's curse to desire man to rule over her. It's all modern day Eve's curse to desire Adams to rule over them. So if you're divorcing her and pushing her away, you're forcing her to find another Adam to rule over her. This is what you're doing. You're forcing her to find another man to sleep with when she hasn't slept with no other man but you. So this is why it says you're making her commit adultery. And you're making whoever she sleeps with commit adultery. It says whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. So you're not only forcing her to commit adultery, but you're forcing whoever she finds to commit adultery. So not only are you committing adultery with yourself, you're forcing her to commit adultery, and you're forcing the person she finds to commit adultery. So you just making a mess of things when you're divorcing your wife for no other reason other than her sleeping with another man. You cannot divorce if you don't you cannot divorce your wife just because y'all don't get along with each other. You cannot divorce your wife just because y'all don't find each other attractive, or you don't find her attractive. You can't divorce your wife because you find another woman attractive. You can't. No matter how much you try to, justify it, you're going against the only begotten Son, the teachings of the only begotten Son when you do this. Pastors, preachers, ministers, bishops, whoever, anyone who has divorced their wives just because they're not getting along, or just because they don't find them attractive, or just because they find someone more attractive, they have went against the teachings of the only begotten Son of God, which is documented clearly in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 32. Let's get into verse 33. Again, you heard that it was said to those of old, you should not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to Yahuwah. We heard this. The scribes and the Pharisees observed this. We should continue to observe this, but this is what the Messiah says we should do. But I say to you, this is what he says to us in order to get our righteousness to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by the heaven, because it's God's throne. Like the sky is God's throne. Don't swear by God's throne. Don't swear by what's in the sky. Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool. Nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great sovereign, the great king. Nor swear by the head, nor swear by your head, because you are not able to make one hair white or gray. You are not able to make one hair white or black. Verse 37. But let your word yes be yes, and your no be no. And what goes beyond these is from the wicked one. What goes beyond these are from the wicked one. So if your yes becomes more than just a simple yes, or if your no becomes more than just a simple no, you're finessing at this point. You're manipulating at this point. You're working your craft at this point. Let your yes be yes. If they believe it, they believe it. If they don't, they don't. Let your no be no. If they believe it, they believe it. If they don't, they don't. It's the truth. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to oversell it, because that becomes finesse, and that comes from that's from the wicked one. That's ways of the wicked one. That's ways of the enemy, the liar. That's his ways. That's in the ways of his children. Verse 38, you heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Verse 39, but I say to you, do not resist the wicked, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. So we heard, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. This is what the scribes and the Pharisees live by. This is what most people today live by. Getting an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Getting their get back. Getting their lick back. Getting their lick back. Getting their get back. Getting their revenge. It's what most people, you hit me, I hit you back. It's what most people teach their children. Someone hit you, hit them back. So this is common in the flesh of people. But this is the Messiah trying to teach us to become spiritual children. Spiritual. And not be concerned with the flesh. So this is what he says. But I say to you, do not resist the wicked, meaning do not run from the wicked. Don't run from nobody. You find yourself in an altercation, don't run from nobody. You find yourself head on with someone, don't run. And if they were to slap you on the right cheek, turn the other to him also, as in like a action movie where you have the villain slapping the hero, and the hero, asking like, is that all you got? Is that all you got? Is that the best you can do? Is that your best shot? The Messiah is not asking us to say all that. He's asking us to do all that. Chin up. Like, is that all you got? Chin up, is that the best? Is that your best shot? Chin up, like, yeah. Now, me personally, in the flesh, I'm not able to do this. So I make sure I avoid people who slap people. I avoid places where people who slap people go. I avoid these people in places. So I don't have to turn the other cheek. I'm not trying to do all that. The flesh isn't trying to do all that. My flesh isn't trying to get it, and my flesh isn't trying to turn the other cheek. So no one's flesh is trying to turn the other cheek. So my advice to you, what I do, I avoid people who slap people. I avoid talking about people who slap people. I avoid making fun of anybody. I avoid lying on anybody. I avoid making up lies about people. I avoid making fun of people and stuff like that for the most part, unless I know that they can handle where it's all in good spirits and friend is all in good humor. I avoid seriously doing these things, because this is what leads people that want to slap you. This is what would lead to people wanting to slap you. I avoid going to places like bars, clubs, and stuff like that for the most part, because where people get intoxicated and they want to slap people. Things can happen. Step on somebody's shoe, bump into somebody, talk to somebody woman talking to you. Old controversy or misunderstanding you have with someone leads to someone wanting to slap you. So to be wise, this is how you avoid all that. But the Messiah is basically teaching us how to, you know, think about ourselves in the spirit and not the flesh. Be not concerned with the flesh, but concerned with yourself as the spirit being, the spiritual child of God. And here's another example. And he who wishes to sue you and take away your inner garment, let him have your outer garment as well. So yeah, if someone, you know, if someone wishes to sue you, or someone who has taken one thing from you, let them have the other thing as well. If someone take, your shirt, let them have, let them have your pants, let them have the whole outfit. This is what the Messiah is asking us. He's asking us to do, because he wants us to not be concerned with the flesh, what's made for the flesh and what's made by the flesh. He wants us to be thinking as spiritual beings, spiritual children of God. He wants to get our minds in the state of spiritual children of God. And spiritual children of God is not thinking about a shirt that someone took. Spiritual children of God is not thinking about a shirt that someone took from them or pants that someone took from them. Verse 41. Here's another example. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. So most people in the flesh don't want to go anywhere for anyone. Most people in the flesh, most flesh don't want to do anything for anybody. Don't want to do no favors. But this is what the Messiah is asking, like, yo, if anyone asks you to do something, like your parents or anyone asks you to do something for them, not only do you do this for them, but you ask them, what else do you need me to do? This is how you go the extra mile for someone. What else do you need me to do? What else is there you need me to do? This is the spirit. This is how you demonstrate yourself to be a child of God, spiritual child of God. When you ask someone, what else is it that you need me to do? Here's another example. Verse 42. Give to him who asks of you, and from him who wishes to borrow from you, do not turn away. Most flesh don't want to let anyone borrow from them. Most flesh don't want to let anyone borrow from them. Most flesh are going to come up with an excuse to say they don't have it, or they'll come back tomorrow. You know what I mean? But the spirit is not concerned with, money. The spiritual child of God isn't concerned with that. So they're willing to let someone borrow. It's the spirit that is willing to let someone borrow. So this is what he's trying to get us to tap into the spirit whenever we're given an opportunity to tap in. Let someone borrow when they ask. You can't let someone borrow something that you don't own. I mean, something that you have. If you have money that is owed to rent, to utilities, to a payment, then you don't have it. You truly don't have it. And it's okay to tell that person you don't have it, because you truly don't have it. You owe it to your rent. You owe it to this payment. You owe it to utilities. But if you have it in savings, let someone borrow. Let someone borrow. Do not turn away. Verse 43, here's another example. You heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Verse 44, but I say to you, this is what he says, to get your righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees, because it's the scribes and the Pharisees that love their neighbors and hate their enemies. These are the scribes, and most people today love their neighbors and hate their enemies. But this is the Messiah. This is what the Messiah is saying. In order to get your righteousness to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees, in order for you to tap into showing yourself to be a spiritual child of God. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those cursing you, do good to those hating you, and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you. So this is what the Messiah is telling you. It's to love your enemies. Bless those cursing you. Do good to those hating you and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you. Because it's the spiritual child of God that's not concerned with the pride, the foolish pride of flesh. It's the spiritual child of God that's not concerned with the spiritual ego of flesh. I'm sorry, the flesh, it's the spiritual child of God that's not concerned with the ego of flesh, the foolish pride of flesh. It's the spiritual child of God that doesn't hold grudges. So it's the spiritual child of God that that's able to love their enemies. Flesh doesn't want to love their enemies. It's the spiritual child of God that want to bless that can bless those cursing them. Flesh doesn't want to bless those cursing them. It's the spiritual child of God that wants to do good to those hating them. Flesh doesn't want to do good to those hating them. It's the spiritual child of God that want to pray for those insulting them and persecuting them. Flesh doesn't want to pray for those persecuting them and insulting them. How do we know this? That this is the spiritual child of God? Because in the very next verse, what does it say? So that you become spiritual children of God, so that you become sons of your Father in the heavens. Spiritual children of God, spiritual children of your Father in the heavens. Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. So he has to know who's who. He has to know who's righteous and who's unrighteous. This is the only way to know who's righteous and unrighteous. The righteous are going to bless those cursing them. The righteous is going to love their enemies. The righteous are going to pray for those insulting them and persecuting them. The unrighteous are going to hate their enemies and love their neighbors only. The wicked are going to hate their enemies and love their neighbors only. But it's the good. He has to know who's right. He has to know who's good and who's evil, who's unrighteous and who's righteous. So those who are good, those who are righteous are loving their enemies. Those who are spiritual children of God are loving their enemies. Those who are spiritual children of God are blessing those cursing them. These are the righteous. These are the good. He has to know who's who. Verse 46, for if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? So are the wicked not doing the same too, loving those who only love them? So what makes you different from the wicked? If you're just loving those who only love you. If you're only loving those who love you. What makes you different than the wicked? That's why you have to love your enemies. This is what he's teaching, love your enemies. And if you in verse 47, and if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing so too? So are the wicked not doing so too? Are the wicked not greeting their brothers only, those who look like them, their brothers and sisters? Are the wicked not just greeting people who look like them only? How are you making yourself different? This is how we know that it's not just for you treating the people that look like you like this. You have to treat everyone like this. Those who that you don't look like, those who can't stand you, and those who don't want to be around you, you have to treat them this way. You have to love in order to show yourself different from the wicked. Because everyone is loving people. Everyone is only loving people who love them. Everyone is only greeting people who greet them. What makes you different is you loving people who don't love you. You greeting people who don't greet you, who don't look like you, who don't look like, you know what I mean, your people, who aren't your people. So this is a clear indication that this is not something that we should just be how we should be towards each other, people that look like us. No, this is a clear indication that, you know, yeah, tax collectors, evil, wicked people, they do the same thing. They only greet their brothers. What makes you different than them? Verse 48, therefore be perfect as your Father in the heavens is perfect. So you have to be perfect at being a spiritual child of God. Being perfect is remembering all that is being taught, all that was taught by his only begotten Son, all that was demonstrated by his only begotten Son, all that was, you know, left as an example by his only begotten Son. This is what you have to perfect, remembering it. Be perfect in remembering it, and do your best to perfect it within your spirit, to rule over your flesh, to override your flesh to do these things. Your flesh is not going to want to greet strangers. You have to let the spirit override the flesh and greet these strangers. Your flesh does not want to, love their enemies. You have to let override this flesh with your spirit, override this flesh, and love your enemies anyway. Your flesh doesn't want to do a lot of these things, all of these things. You have to let the spirit within you override the flesh and do these things or not do these things anyway. Chapter 6, verse 1. Beware of doing your kind deeds before men in order to be seen by them. So beware of doing your kind deeds to be seen by people. What are your kind deeds? Doing for people, doing for the poor, doing for the sick, doing for the homeless, doing for the hungry, the thirsty, the prisoner, the widows, the fatherless, doing for the less fortunate. Beware of doing things for these people to be seen by others. In order to be seen by others. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So you have no reward from your Father in heaven if you're doing for the less fortunate just to be seen by others. You're doing for the less fortunate just for others to know about it. You have no reward from your Father in heaven for that. Verse 2, thus, when you do a kind deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites. So who are the hypocrites? As the hypocrites do in the congregations, these places of worship, and in the streets, to be praised by men. So blowing a trumpet is telling everybody that you did what you did for someone. Telling everybody what you did for someone. That's blowing a trumpet. Truly I say to you, truly I say to you, they have their reward. So they have their reward, is people pleasing. They have pleased the people. That's the reward. That's your only reward. You have pleased the people. You didn't please God. You don't please God when you're doing these things to be seen by men. You don't please God when you're doing these things to be seen by men. Verse 3, but when you do a kind deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So your left hand, is your left hand man or woman. Obviously, don't let anyone know what your right hand is doing, what you're doing. That your right hand is taking care of the poor, that your right hand is taking care of the homeless, that your right hand is taking care of the sick, the hungry, the thirsty, that your right hand is taking care of the fatherless, the widow, the prisoner. Don't let your left hand know that what you're doing with it, what you're doing with your right hand. But when you do a kind deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Verse 4, so that your kind deed shall be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. Your Father who sees in secret, see you do for the less fortunate in secret, see you do for the less fortunate in secret, see you do for the homeless in secret, see you do for the fathers, the widows, the prisoner, the sick, the thirsty, the hungry in secret. What you do for them in secret, your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. So you will get an open reward where everyone will see that you've clearly been rewarded by the Most High. You've clearly been blessed by the Most High. This is that open reward when you do deeds in secret. Verse 5, and when you pray, you should not be like the hypocrites. Who are the hypocrites? Who was Messiah calling hypocrites? It's involving prayer. For they love to pray standing in the congregations, in these places of worship, churches, temples, and on the corners of the streets, mass jigs. These are who he's calling hypocrites. They love to pray standing in the congregations and on the corners of the streets. To be seen by men, Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. They have the reward for being called prayer warriors, pleasing the people. Because that's what they were doing it for, to please the people. They weren't doing it to get an actual answer or approval or, reward from the Most High. Verse 6, but you, this is what he's saying. He's saying, you who claim to believe in me, you who claim to have faith in me, but you, when you pray, go into your room, and having shut your door. Pray to your Father who is in the secret place. Pray to your Father, not him. Pray to the Father, not his Son. Pray to the Father, not his only begotten Son. Pray to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. So he has to see your prayers in secret in order for him to reward you openly. And your open reward will be clearly seen by others. It will be clearly seen and known that you were rewarded by the Most High. You were blessed by the Most High. Verse 7, and when praying, do not keep on babbling like the nations, for they think that they should be heard for their many words. Therefore, verse 8, therefore do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. So he's not only are we not to be praying, in public, in front of everybody and trying to be seen by men. We're not to be going on these long prayers, babbling and, trying to be heard for our many words. This is the book of Matthew, by the way, chapter 6. Verse 6 through where we are now in verse 6 through 8. Therefore, do not be like them. He's telling you not to be like them. Do not be like them. Therefore, do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask. He knows what we need before we ask. He knows what we need before we ask, so we don't have to get into asking. Verse 9, this then is the way you should pray. So the Messiah, the only begotten Son, is about to teach us how to pray. He's about to teach us how to pray. Our Father, who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your kingdom come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into trial, evil, but deliver us from the wicked one. Evil. But deliver us from the wicked one. Because yours is the kingdom and the power and the esteem forever. Amen. This is how we pray. This is how the Messiah tells us to pray. This is how the Messiah tells us to pray. Outside of that, our Father knows what we need before we ask. So we don't have to go on these long prayers or say more than what the Messiah just taught us. Verse 14, for if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father shall also forgive you. So, if you forgive others, the Most High forgives you. Verse 15, but if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither shall your Father forgive your trespasses. So you have to forgive in order to be forgiven. You have to forgive in order to be forgiven. Don't let that go over your head. Don't ever forget that. Verse 16, and when you fast, do not be sad-faced like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces they disfigure their faces so that they appear to be fasting to men. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. They have their reward. It's because their reward is about appearance. They want to be seen by men. They want to be pleasing people. They want to be seen by people and people to see them that they're fasting. That's their reward. They have pleased the people. They wanted to please the people. They have pleased. It says, verse 17, but you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. This is what he says we should do. Anoint our head and wash our face when we fast. Not tell everybody that we're fasting. Not tell everybody to go on a fast with us. Not tell not tell anybody how hungry we are and how we've been fasting. Verse 18, it says, verse 17, but you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. Verse 18, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. Your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. So there's another way to be rewarded openly. Openly, like everyone can see that the Most High himself rewarded you, has blessed you. Verse 19, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. Why does he says this? Why is he saying don't lay up for yourself treasures on earth? Meaning don't save up all this tons of money. Don't lay up for yourself treasures on earth. Meaning don't lay up all this tons of money. Why does he say this? Because obviously it's going to cause thieves to want to break in and steal. You're provoking thieves to break in and steal. When you could be using that money to make investments, to invest in yourself, invest in your family, invest in the same people to keep them from wanting to steal it. If you thinking about laying up all this treasure, you thinking about saving all this money, it's going to lead people to want to steal that money. It's going to lead people who are less fortunate and who don't have to want to come take from you, to come take the money. So this is why the Messiah said, don't lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. Don't lay up for yourselves all this money. It's going to lead people to want to come and take it. Instead of laying up all these treasures, invest the treasure. Invest the money. Invest the treasure. Invest the money in assets, property, You know, farm animals, crops, seeds, businesses, cattle, you know, flock. Invest in business for people to work so they can take care of themselves. Invest. Don't lay up all this treasure. Don't lay up all this money. Because if you're laying up all this treasure and laying all this money and you're not making any investments into the people, into the less fortunate, especially, you're going to lead the less fortunate wanting to come steal from you, wanting to come take from you, to break in and steal. Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasure in the heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. So how do you lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven? You using your money, using your treasure to invest in the people. You're using your treasure, you're using your money to invest in to do for, the less fortunate in secret. To do for the sick in secret, do for the poor in secret, do for the homeless in secret, do for the fatherless in secret, do for the widows in secret, do for the prisoner in secret. Doing for these people in secret is what lays up treasure in the heaven. This is what lays up treasures in the heavens and adds to your heavenly bank account. Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there your heart shall be. Where your treasure is, there your heart shall be. So if your treasure is in earth and you're laying all your treasure up on earth, that's where your heart is going to be. That's where your eyes are going to be focused on. You're going to be focused and worried about what's going to happen to that. If your treasure is laid up in the heaven, then that's where your heart shall be. Your heart is going to be focused on that, on adding to that account by how you add to that account by doing your good deeds in secret, doing your good deeds for others in secret. The hungry, the thirsty, the poor, the sick, the prisoner, in secret. That's where your heart will be, is doing that. But if your treasure is on earth and that's all you're going to be focused on, that's where your heart will be. Your heart is going to be focused on adding to that treasure that you're laying up on earth, adding to that money that you're saving up in the bank, in wherever safe. You're going to be focused on that. That's where your heart will be. Verse 22, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, all your body shall be enlightened. Verse 23, but if your eye is evil, all your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So you laying up money is darkness. You saving all this money is darkness. So it's like you may have light in you, but the darkness in you, the darkness of you laying up treasure, that's what outweighs the light. The darkness of you saving up this money and adding to your savings, that's what darkens the light. That's what this means. But if your eye is evil, all your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Verse 24, no one is able to serve two masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cleave to the one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and Mammon. You are not able to serve God and money. You're not able to serve God and money. So it's like serving God requires you to use money to take care of the less fortunate in secret. Serving money requires you to add to that money, not take away from it. Keep saving, build that money. That's what that requires. That's what serving money requires you to do. So, and that's a counter, you know, that's what causes uh friction. That's what causes you know, there to be one hating the other. Because if you're focusing on, if you're serving money, you're going to hate serving God. Because if you're serving money, you're going to want to add, you're going to want to keep adding to that money, not using that money to, you know, do your deeds for the homeless or the poor in secret. So you're going to hate serving God. And if you serve God, you're going to hate serving money, because you're not going to want to save all this money. You're going to want to invest that money and use it to look out for the people of God. This is what this means. Verse 25. Because of this, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you should eat or drink, or about your body, what you shall put on it. Shall put on. Is not life more than the food, and the body more than the clothing? So he's like, man, don't worry about what you're going to eat, drink, or what you're going to wear. These are the concerns of the flesh. These not the concerns of the spirit. The spirit is not concerned with it. Verse 26, look at the birds of the heavens, for they neither sow nor reap, nor gather into storehouses, yet your heavenly Father does feed them. Are you not worth more than they? So he's pointing out how the birds of the heavens, you know, they neither sow nor reap. The birds of the heavens don't work. They don't go to work. They don't have to work. But yet the Most High makes sure they have a meal. The Most High makes sure a meal is provided to his creation, to the birds. And are you not worth more than they? Verse 27, and which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? Verse 28, so why do you worry about clothing? Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Verse 29, and I say to you that even Shalomoth in all his esteem was not dressed like one of these. So he's basically like, yo, the flowers of the field are outdressed as everyone, but they don't toil or spin. They don't work for their beauty. And even Solomon in all his splendor and his glory could not outdress the flower. Could not outdress the flower. Verse 30, but if Elohim so clothe the grass of the field, which exists today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? How much more you? If he's able to beautify the flowers, how much more you? How much more us, O ones of little belief? Verse 31, do not worry then, saying, what should we eat? Or what should we drink? Or what should we wear? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about those matters. Verse 32, for all these the nations seek for, and your heavenly Father knows that you need all these. He knows that you need all these. Verse 33, but seek first the reign, seek first the kingdom of Elohim, the kingdom of God, and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. So what is you seek? What are we to seek? Seek first the kingdom of God. What is the kingdom of God? The lessons of his only begotten Son. What are the kingdom of, what is the kingdom of God? The lessons of his only begotten Son, the teachings of his only begotten Son, the demonstrations of his only begotten Son, the examples of his only begotten Son. That's the kingdom of God. What is his righteousness? The instructions of his, the spiritual laws, following the instructions of God, obeying the spiritual laws of God. That's his righteousness. So the kingdom of God is the teachings, lessons, examples, and demonstrations of the only begotten Son. And his righteousness is his spiritual laws and his instructions. So when you seek these things, all these shall be added to you. All these should be added to you. Your food, your water, your clothing. When you seek the instructions of God, verse 34, do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. Each day has enough evil of itself. We have to worry about getting through this hour. We have to worry about getting through this day before we can worry about tomorrow. Before we can begin to worry about tomorrow, we have to get through this day. We have to get through the day we're in. We have to get through the hour that we're in before we can worry about any other hour or any other day, next day. We have to worry about this hour and worry about this day, getting through that first. Chapter 7, verse 1. Do not judge, lest you be judged. Do not judge, lest you be judged. So, yeah, we're not to judge. No matter how people try to doctor it up. Yes, you should have good judgment of character, but you're not to judge someone from what, by what they do. And this is the reason, these are the reasons why. He's going to explain why. Like, meaning, like, judge them as far as, like, point the finger at them and go and drill them about what you're judging them on. And this is what the Messiah is going to tell us. Verse 2, for with that judgment you judge, you should be judged. And with that same measure you use, it should be measured to you. So however you judge, whenever you judging someone and saying that they ain't do this, they should do this, and they this, that, and they're not this, and they're whenever you get into that, you should expect the same in return. You should expect the same judgment in return, with the same measurement, the same standard that you're holding them by, you're going to be held by. Verse 3, and why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not notice the plank in your own eye? So why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye and do not notice the plank in your own eye? How do you not notice this? How do you not notice what you have going on yourself? Like the stuff that you need to clean up, the stuff that you need to stop, the stuff that you need to start. Verse 4, how is it that you say to your brother, let me remove the splinter out of your eye, and see, a plank is in your own eye? How? How do you say you want to remove something from somebody and you got your own plank in your own eye? You got their own things going on, things that you need to clean up. You can't. This is what the Messiah is saying. Hypocrite. This is who he's calling a hypocrite. He's called. This is his definition of a hypocrite. Hypocrite. First, remove the plank from your own eye, and then, and then, and then you shall see clearly to remove the splinter out of your brother's eye. So you got to make sure you're doing. You got to make sure you're following all the instructions of God before you can make sure someone else is following them. You have to make sure you're obeying all the spiritual laws of God before you can make sure anyone else is obeying all the spiritual laws of God. You have to make sure that you're following all the teachings and the lessons and demonstrations and examples of the only begotten Son before you can make sure anyone else is following all the teachings, the lessons, the demonstrations and examples of the only begotten Son. It's one thing to call out an action, but you can't specify or zero in on a person. Speak against the action. Speak against the sin. Don't speak against the person. Don't ever judge. That's judging. That's not to be done. Judge the action. Judge the sin, not the sinner. Point out the sin, not the sinner. Point out the sin, not the sinner. And that's what people get a thrive. People thrive and people get a satisfaction of pointing out people. Oh, he this. Oh, she's this. When they got their own ugliness going on, when they got their own wickedness going on, when they got their own unrighteousness going on, and their disobedience going on, and their own disobedience going on. Yeah, we can't get into that. If you're going to get into calling something out, call something out. Don't call someone out. Don't ever call anyone out. We're not to be calling anyone out, no matter who it is. You call out the action. Call something out, not someone. Call the sin. We wrestle. Our enemy is the ancient knowledge of evil in the enemy. And it's more so the ancient knowledge of evil than the enemy. It's the ancient knowledge of evil that we're up against. And it's the enemy, but it's more so we have to focus on the ancient knowledge of evil. And that's what we call out everywhere we see it. What is evil? Call it out. Hate it. Call it out. Hate it. Don't ever call out people. Don't ever hate people for what they do. Hate what they do. Don't hate them. Hate what they do. Do not hate them. Hate what they do. Do not hate them. And I'm glad that I've covered this and I reminded myself of this. You have to pick out the sin, not the sinner. Point out the sin, not the sinner. So this is like this is what this means about hypocrites. First, remove the plank from your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to remove the splinter out of your own eye. I'm reading the book of Matthew, by the way, chapter 7. That was verse 5. These are the teachings of the only begotten Son that started in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 2, and wrapping up in chapter 7. So if you wanted to know what I was reading, this is what I'm reading. The teachings of the only begotten Son, documented and recorded in the book of Matthew from chapter 5 to chapter 7. His teachings, what we should be learning, teaching ourselves, and teaching to the nations, making disciples of the nation, students of the nation, using these teachings alone. Verse 6, do not give what is set apart to the dogs, nor throw your pearls before the pigs, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. So who are the dogs? The dogs are the unbelievers. The dogs are the unbelievers. That's what the biblical dog is. A biblical dog is an unbeliever. Who are the pigs? Pigs are the unclean. That's what a pig is. A biblical pig is an unclean person. So a dog is a person, an unbelieving person, a person who doesn't believe, and a pig is one who is unclean. So we're not to waste our time on dogs and pigs, unbelievers and unclean. If they've shown themselves to be unclean and show themselves to be unbelievers, let them be that. They're content with that. They're grounded. They're grounded in being unbelievers. They're grounded in being unclean. So you're not to waste your pearls on them, waste sharing this with them, because what's going to happen is they're going to make fun of what you're sharing. They're going to make a mockery of what you're sharing with them, and some are going to will lead to tearing you to pieces. Some will want to lead to blows, wanting to put hands on you. So it's no point to waste your time, waste your energy, waste your words on unbelievers and unclean, who clearly are comfortable with being unbelievers, clearly are comfortable with being unclean, clearly are confident with being unbelievers and confident in being unclean. Don't waste your words on them, because they're going to make a mockery out of your words, and they're going to look to want to put hands on you. Some of them crazy enough to want to do that. Verse 7, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open to you. What does he mean? Verse 8, for everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be open. What does this mean? Can you just ask for anything? Let's see. Verse 9, or is there a man among you who, if his son asks for bread, oh, now we're getting an idea what to ask for. If his son asks for bread, should give him a stone. What not to give, what not to ask for. Verse 10, or if he asks for fish, example of what to ask for, food, shall he give him a snake? What not to ask for, what's not good for you. Verse 11, if you then, being wicked, know how to give good gifts, what to ask for, good gifts, to your children, how much more shall your Father who is in the heavens give what is good, what to ask for, what is good, to those who ask him. So you can't ask for just anything. You can't ask for something that's not good for you. It's something that's not good for you as a spiritual child of God. You can't ask for something that's good for the flesh unless it's food, which benefits the spirit. Unless it's water, which benefits the spirit. Unless it's clothing, which benefits the spirit. Unless it's a roof over your head, and that benefits the spirit. Healing, comfort. This is what we're to ask for. What is good. Can't just ask for anything. Can't just ask for if it's good, if it's to do good, if it's to do somebody good, if it's good for you, if it's for your own good, good. But if it's not, that's not something to be asking for. He's not going to give you a snake. He's not going to give you a rock. And that some of these things are compared to a rock. Some of these things that we ask compared to a snake. He's not going to give that to us. Verse 12, therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the Torah and the prophets. What does he mean by this? What is the Torah? Again, the Torah is the instructions of God. The instructions of God instructs us to treat others how we want to be treated. The instructions of God instructs us how to treat God how he wants us to treat him. That's what the instructions of God are. That's the Torah. That's why therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. That's what this means. Because that's literally the instructions of God that people are against. Most people say it's obsolete. Most people try to tell everybody that we don't have to follow the instructions of God. When the instructions of God is ultimately what makes peace amongst each other, makes us not be scumbags towards each other, makes us not be wicked towards each other, makes us not be evil towards each other, makes us not be savages towards each other, makes us not be, unbelievers and disgusting towards God, or, yeah. So this is what sums up the Torah, the instructions of God, and the prophets. How does it sums up the prophets? Because the prophecies, what are the prophets? The prophets are the prophecies of the prophets of God. This is what so this is how it sums up the prophecies, because the prophecies of God, its ultimate goal is to have a world full of people who follow the instructions of God. Have a world full of people who do to others what they want it done to them. That's the prophecy. That's what's going on. That's what the prophecies are leading up to get rid of everyone else who doesn't want to treat people how they want to be treated. And that's what the prophecies are. That's why it says it sums up the Torah and the prophets, because the instructions of God is how to treat others how you want to be treated, and how to treat God how he wants us to treat him. And then the prophecies are leading up to everyone who can do that. Everyone who is able to do this. If you're not able to treat others how you want to be treated, the prophecies are leading up to getting rid of you. That's what the prophecies are leading up to. Getting rid of you. People who don't want to treat people how they want to be treated. How they themselves don't want to be treated. How they themselves want to be treated. This is the whole purpose. The whole purpose of the instructions of God, which is the Torah, and the whole purpose of prophecy, which is the prophecies of the prophets of God. And I said that a little off. This is the whole purpose of Torah, which is the instructions of God, and this is the purpose of the prophets, which are the prophecies of the prophets of God. Verse 13, enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter in through it. There are many who enter in through this gate of destruction, because there are many who don't want to treat others how they themselves want to be treated. There are many who are asking God for snake and asking God for rock for the flesh, for to benefit their flesh. There are many people who are unclean, who are unbelievers. There are many people who are judging others, trying to pick the plank out of other people's eye when they have a plank in their own eye. There are many people who, are worried about tomorrow. Many people worried about clothes and, worry about their clothes and their water and their food. Granted, But if you're following the instructions of God, you don't have to worry about it. If you're, you know, if you're following the examples of his only begotten son, you don't have to worry about that. But there are many worrying about this, so there are many who are lead to this, you know, there are many who will be led to many who will enter through this way to destruction. There are many who will enter in this way of destruction because there are many who want an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Many who, you know, want to save up all this money and lay up treasure for themselves on earth. Many who want to pray in public and pray so that everyone can see them. Pray to be people pleasing. Many who want to fast and so tell everybody that they're fasting. The people pleasing. Many who want to, you know, do their good deeds for the poor and the homeless so everybody can see that they did their good deed for the poor and the homeless. Many who don't love their enemies and don't want to do good for those cursing them. Many who don't want to let nobody borrow anything, don't want to let nobody have nothing. Many who are not humble, many who are not poor in spirit, many who don't mourn for others, many who are not meek, friendly, or approachable, many who are not, obedient. There are many who are not compassionate, many who are not peacemakers, many who don't want to greet anyone other than people who look like them, many who don't want to love anyone who don't love them. This is why the way of the destruction is broad, and many will enter into it. Verse 14, because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, which leads to life, which leads to life. The way that leads to life is narrow. And there are few who find it. There are few who find it because there are few who will humble themselves. There are few who will mourn for others and have empathy for others. There are few who are meek, friendly, approachable. Few who are obedient, following instructions of God, obey the spiritual laws of God. There are few who are compassionate, few who are peacemakers. Few who don't divorce their wives unless their wife slept with another man. Few who pray in secret. Few who fast in secret. Few who do their good deeds for the poor and the homeless in secret. Few who don't want to save up all this money on earth and lay up all this treasure on earth. There are few who can't help few who don't judge others. Try to pick out planks in other people's eyes when they have their own plank in their own eye. There are few who not worry about tomorrow. Few who not concerned with that. This is why few will find it. Verse 15, but beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. Inwardly they are savage wolves. Verse 16, by their fruit you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Verse 17, so every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. Verse 18, a good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Verse 19, every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Verse 20, so then, by their fruits you should know them. These are the fruits. The fruits is everything he's taught us from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 2, to where we are, wrapping it up in chapter 7. If you're not bearing these fruits, you're not bearing fruit. If you're not bearing these fruits that he taught from chapter 5 to chapter 7, you're not bearing fruit. These are the only fruit. And the fruits that are spoken of by his apostles, by his disciples, the fruits that are spoken of by our ancient brothers in these writings, they're referring to his teachings. They're literally referring to his teachings, what was taught in his teachings. So then by their fruit you shall know them. Verse 21, not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. Not everyone going to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Not everyone who claimed to know him will enter into the kingdom of heaven. Not everyone who claimed to believe in him, claim with their mouth that they believe in him, will enter into the kingdom of heaven. Not everyone who claim with their lips that they have faith shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. But he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. So doing, that requires action. Doing requires action. Doing the desire of his Father is following the instructions of his Father. Obeying the spiritual laws of his Father. The spiritual laws of his Father's government. That's what governs the kingdom of his Father. So if you don't follow the instructions of his Father, you're not invited to the house of over. You're not invited over to the house of his Father. If you don't obey the spiritual laws of the spiritual government that govern the house of his Father, you're not invited into the house of his Father. It's that simple. You're not going to invite someone over to your own home if they don't follow the instructions of your home. You're not going to invite someone in your community if they don't obey the laws of the community. What makes this different? Oh, he has mercy, he has grace. He has mercy on those who decided to repent. Grace on those who decide to repent, who feel sorry for what they've done. Who genuinely feel sorry for what they've done and how they were and what they've done and how they've been. Verse 21. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and done many mighty works in your name? This is what people in that day will say, in that day of his return. This is what they'll say to him. Like, didn't we do this in your name? All these pastors, preachers, ministers, all these people, they're going to ask, like, didn't we prophesy in your name and cast out demons in what we thought was your name and done many mighty works in what we thought was your name? Verse 23, and then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. This is what he's going to declare to them. I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. You who work lawlessness. He's going to call you one who works lawlessness because you were the same one speaking against the laws of his Father. He's going to call you one who worked lawlessness because you were the same one speaking against the laws of his Father. He never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. Verse 24, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine hears these words of his, the Messiah, the only begotten Son of God. His words. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them, shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. So you have to do these words, not just read these words, not just hear these words, not just recite these words. You have to do these words of his. But you have most people that would speak out against doing anything. They'll speak out against doing any of these words. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does anyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on rock. Verse 25, and the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. Verse 26, and everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them, telling everybody that they shouldn't do them, they shouldn't follow the instructions of God, they shouldn't follow the lessons and teachings of his only begotten son, and telling you don't have to do anything. You can just say that you believe, you can say that you have faith, and that's it. Anyone, it says, and everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them, shall be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. Verse 27, and the rain came down, and the floods came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. Great was its fall. Verse 28, and it came to be, when Yahushua had ended these words, so he's finally ending these words that started in chapter 5 in the book of Matthew, where we are, where we started. Chapter 5 in the book of Matthew, verse 2. The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 2 is where it started, where these words started. He's finally ending these words in chapter 7, verse 28. And it came to be, when Yahushua had ended these words, that the people were astonished at his teachings. These were his teachings. These teachings that begin in chapter 5 of book of Matthew, verse 2. The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 2, clearly said that these were, like, he was teaching them. That's what it said in chapter 5, verse 2. And he clearly been teaching all the way up to this point in chapter 7, verse 28. And it came to be, when Yahushua had ended these words, that the people were astonished at his teachings. These were his teachings. These are the same teachings that we are to learn ourselves, to make ourselves students of these teachings, make ourselves taught ones of these teachings, make ourselves disciples of these teachings, so we can make disciples of the nations using these teachings, make students of the nations using these teachings, make taught ones of the nations using these teachings of his. The teachings that he taught us from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 2 to chapter 7, verse 28. Verse 29, for he was teaching them as one possessing authority, and not as the scribes. So he was teaching them as one possessing authority, and not as the scribes. One possessing authority because he was, and not as the scribe because they were not. They were no longer in position of authority, because the Messiah was now, the Messiah has shown himself, revealed himself, and yeah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise Yah, may all glory be to Yah, Yahuwah, Shabbawoth, Yahuwah, Almighty, Yahuwah, Most High, Yahuwah, El Shaddai. Thank you, Yahuwah. Thank you, Yahushua. Yahushua HaMashiach. It was you who said, it's recorded, it's documented, that when 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are amongst us, you are in our midst. So, Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, since you are amongst us, since you are amidst, you're in our midst, I ask that you help us, those who are gathered in your name, find healing, receive healing from whatever it is that we need to heal from. Whatever it is that our loved ones, our friends need to heal from. Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, since you are in our midst, since you are amongst us, I ask that you help those who are gathered in your name find comfort in whatever it is that we need to find comfort in. Whatever it is our loved ones need to find comfort in, and whatever it is our friends need to find comfort in. Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, since you are in our midst, since you are amongst us, I ask that you help those who are gathered in your name repent from whatever it is we need to repent from, and become spiritual children of your Father, following your lessons, following your teachings, following your demonstrations, following your examples, in order for us to rule over our flesh, rule over these fleshly beings that we dwell in. Deny our flesh of what it wants to say. Deny our flesh of what it wants to do. Deny our flesh of who it wants to be with. Deny our flesh of where it wants to go. Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, since you are in our midst, since you are amongst us, I ask that you help us discipline ourselves better, humble ourselves better, be more approachable, be more friendly, be more peacemakers, be more compassionate, have mercy, be more forgiving. Help us love our neighbors. Help us pray for those cursing us. Help us forgive those. Help us greet strangers. Help us love strangers. The hard parts. Help us do the hard things that the flesh doesn't want to do. Help us override the flesh, Master. Help us override the flesh. Help the spirit within us override the flesh. And do what it is the spirit needs to do. Not do what it is the spirit does not need to do. Help us be a testimony an example of who we were, what we were doing, and where we are now. Help us be a testimony of how we're ruling over the flesh, how we've been ruling over the flesh, how we came to rule over the flesh, how we came to override the flesh and make the decisions of the spirit. Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, since you are in our midst, since you are amongst us, I ask that you help us in whatever it is that we need, food, whatever it is our relatives need, food, whatever it is that our loved ones need, food, whatever it is that anyone who is in need needs, food, clothing, shelter, a roof over their heads, freedom. you know, a life partner, a brother, a sister, any help, whatever it is that, or you know, Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, help us with it. You know, the Father knows what we need before we ask, but we can ask you because you are in our midst, since you are amongst us, since you are with us, since you are in our midst, since we gather in your name. Those who are gathering in your name, let it be. Let it be, Master. Let it be. By Hashem Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, let it be. I'm going to bless us out according to the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 23 to 26, the blessing that was given to Moses to bless the people. Receive your blessing. May Yahuwah bless you, barak you, and guard you. May Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. May Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Till next time, peace, love, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, peace, and love.